Let me be blunt with you. If you're watching this video, you're probably checking your phone every few hours, hoping to see her name pop up. Maybe she used to text you first. Maybe conversations felt easy. But now, her replies are getting shorter. She's taking longer to respond. And you're sitting there analyzing every word, wondering if you should text her again or just let it go. Here's what most men don't realize. The moment you stop contacting her, a very specific psychological process begins in her mind. And it's nothing like what you think. She doesn't just move on. She doesn't forget you. What actually happens is far more complex, and understanding it changes everything. In this video, I'm breaking down her exact internal reaction when you stop reaching out, what she thinks in the first 24 hours, how her emotions shift over the next week, the moment she starts questioning herself instead of you, and the critical point where she either reaches back out or genuinely moves on. By the end, you'll know exactly how to read the signs, whether you should respond if she contacts you, and what it means if she doesn't. Now, before we dive in, let me be clear about something. This isn't about playing games or manipulating anyone. This is about understanding the psychology behind how women process your absence, so you can make informed decisions instead of reacting out of anxiety. Because here's what most men don't realize. There's a specific pattern to how women respond when you stop reaching out, and most dating advice completely misses it. They'll tell you to chase harder or that she's just not interested, but the truth is more nuanced than that. So before I break down what she's actually thinking and feeling, you need to understand why your instinct to keep texting her, to explain yourself, to try to fix things, is probably making everything worse. Let me explain. When a woman starts pulling back, most men immediately go into fix-it mode. They send longer texts trying to re-engage her. They ask what's wrong. They try to schedule another date right away. And every single one of these moves sends the same message: I need your validation. I'm worried you're losing interest. I'm chasing you. Here's what you have to understand about female psychology. Women are wired to be attracted to men who have options, men who have a life outside of them, men who don't need them for emotional stability. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about genuine self-sufficiency. The moment you start chasing harder when she pulls back, you confirm her doubts about you. You prove that you don't have other things going on. You demonstrate that your emotional state depends on her responsiveness, and that kills attraction faster than almost anything else. Think about the last time you pursued someone who was pulling away. Did sending more messages bring her closer? Did explaining yourself make her more interested? Did trying to figure out what went wrong fix anything? Probably not. Because the act of chasing creates the exact dynamic that pushes her further away. So if chasing is what most men do, and it clearly doesn't work, what actually happens when you do the opposite? When you stop reaching out entirely. Here's exactly what to expect. First, her immediate reaction in the first 48 hours. Second, how she rationalizes your silence over the next week. Third, the moment her curiosity turns into actual concern. And fourth, the critical point where she either reaches out or genuinely lets go. Let's start with her first reaction. In the first 24 to 48 hours after you stop reaching out, something interesting happens. She notices. Don't underestimate this. Even if she was the one pulling back, even if her replies were getting shorter, she was used to you being there. She was used to seeing your name in her notifications. So when that suddenly stops, it registers. The first emotion she experiences is usually surprise. Wait, he's not texting me. That's different. Most men would have doubled down by now. Most men would have sent a follow-up message asking if everything's okay. But you didn't. And that creates a small crack in her mental model of you. Now here's what she does next. She checks. She'll open your social media profile to see if you're active. She might reread your last few conversations to see if she missed something. She's not panicking yet. This isn't full-blown concern. It's more like curiosity mixed with a tiny bit of wounded ego. Because on some level, even if she wasn't that interested, she expected you to keep trying. That's what guys usually do. But you're not following the script. And that makes you slightly more interesting than you were yesterday. Pay attention to this phase because it tells you everything about her actual interest level. If she was genuinely interested in you, she'll start fishing for your attention in subtle ways. She might post a story that she knows you'd normally comment on. She might like an old photo of yours from weeks ago. She might send you a meme or a random question at a strange hour that seems casual but is really just testing if you'll respond. Maybe she'll text you something low stakes like, "Hey, did you ever watch that show you mentioned?" These are breadcrumbs. She's not going to reach out directly and say, "Hey, I noticed you haven't texted me. What's going on?" That would require admitting that your absence affected her, which means admitting she cares more than she wants to reveal. Instead, she's creating opportunities for you to re-engage so she can gauge where you're at without exposing herself. This is actually a positive sign. It means she's thinking about you. It means your silence created a gap that she's trying to close, but on her terms. The key here is recognizing the difference between genuine interest and ego validation. If she's breadcrumbing, she's interested. If she's completely radio silent during these first 48 hours, she might be genuinely uninterested or she's playing a longer game. But here's the critical thing most men don't realize. This initial reaction, this curiosity phase, it's not what determines the outcome. Because what happens next, in the days that follow, is where the real psychological shift begins. By day 3, 4, or 5, if you still haven't reached out, her internal narrative starts to shift. This is where the rationalization phase kicks in. And this is actually one of the most psychologically fascinating parts of the entire process, because what she's doing is creating stories to protect her ego. Think about it from her perspective. She was used to you pursuing her, even subtly, and now you've gone completely silent. That silence forces her to answer a question she doesn't want to answer. Did she misjudge your level of interest? Was she wrong about you being into her? Instead of sitting with that uncomfortable possibility, most women will start rationalizing. He's probably busy. He's probably talking to someone else. Maybe he wasn't that interested anyway. I was probably the one losing interest first. These narratives serve a purpose. They protect her from feeling rejected or foolish. Because if she can convince herself that you were never that into her, or that she was the one pulling back first, then your silence doesn't sting. It doesn't mean she was wrong. It just means things naturally faded. Here's where it gets interesting though. During this phase, she'll often talk to her friends about it, not in a "I miss him" way. More like a "remember that guy. Yeah, he just kind of stopped texting." Whatever. Casual dismissal. But the fact that she's bringing it up at all tells you something. You're still occupying mental real estate. She's still processing your absence. Now, if there was genuine interest on her part, this is also the phase where she might test you more directly. She might send a slightly more pointed message, not vulnerable, but more direct than the breadcrumbs from the first 48 hours. Something like "You've been quiet" with a casual emoji, or "Haven't heard from you in a while." These aren't desperate. They're fishing expeditions. She's giving you an opening to re-engage if you want to, but she's framing it in a way that protects her from looking too invested. And here's the critical diagnostic. If she's testing you at this stage, it means she's not dismissing you yet. The rationalization is a defense mechanism, not a final verdict. But most men mess this up. They see a test message and they immediately jump back into pursuit mode. Long response, lots of explanation, trying to re-spark everything at once. And that kills the dynamic. Because remember, the reason she's even noticing your absence is because you broke the pattern. The moment you go back to being predictable, you lose the intrigue. So if she tests you during this phase, keep your response light, brief, and unaffected. Don't over-explain. Don't apologize for being busy. Just respond naturally and then pull back again. Because what happens next, around the 1 to 2 week mark, is where the real power shift occurs. This is where everything changes. Between day 7 and 14, if you've maintained silence and handled any tests correctly, something shifts in her psychology. The rationalization phase ends. The curiosity phase begins. Women with genuine interest start to actually miss your presence. Not desperately, but genuinely wondering what you're up to. She questions her own narrative. Wait, did I pull away first? Did I misread his interest? For 2 weeks, you weren't where she expected. You didn't chase, explain, or seek validation. That created a psychological gap her mind wants to close. Think about how attention works. When someone's always available, always responsive, always initiating, their attention loses value. It becomes expected, but when that attention disappears, especially when she was used to having it, the absence becomes noticeable. And humans have a natural tendency to want what's no longer readily available. Here's the midpoint truth most men miss. The power in this dynamic was never about punishing her or making her chase you. It's about demonstrating that your life doesn't revolve around her response to you, that you have emotional self-sufficiency, that you're not sitting around waiting for her to validate you. And ironically, that's what makes you more attractive. Not the silence itself, but what the silence communicates about your internal state. If you've stayed silent for 2 weeks and she reaches out at this stage, it's usually not breadcrumbs anymore. It's more direct. Hey, how have you been? Or, I was thinking about you, or even did I do something to upset you? These are genuine reconnection attempts. She's no longer testing. She's actually curious. She wants to know where things stand. And this is the moment where you have the most leverage. Not to manipulate, but to reset the dynamic on better terms. But understand this. If she reaches out, it doesn't mean you won. It means she's interested enough to put herself out there a little bit. What happens next depends entirely on how you handle it. If you go back to being overly available, overly eager, chasing her energy, you'll undo all of this. The dynamic will snap back to where it was before. You'll be the pursuer again. She'll pull back. Right back where you started. Instead, if she reaches out, respond positively, but briefly. Match her energy. Don't exceed it. Be warm, but don't dump all your attention back on her at once. Keep your life in the foreground. Show her that her re-engagement is welcome, but it's not the center of your world. This is how you actually shift the dynamic long term. But what if she doesn't reach out? Day 10, 14, even 21, nothing. No breadcrumbs, tests, or genuine reconnection. Then you have your answer. That's valuable information. Either she was never that interested, or she's too stubborn to show vulnerability. Either way, you know where you stand. That clarity beats being stuck in uncertainty. So let me be clear about something. This isn't about winning. This isn't about getting her to chase you for your ego. It's about using silence as a diagnostic tool to understand who's actually interested and who was just keeping you around for attention. And if you're still watching at this point, you understand something that 90% of men never figure out. The chase kills attraction. The pullback creates it. Now let's talk about what to do with this information strategically. So now you understand the psychology, but understanding isn't enough. You need a framework for how to actually handle this. Let's start with the most common scenario. She reaches out after a week or two. How do you respond? First, timing. Don't respond immediately. Wait at least a couple hours. You're demonstrating you have things going on. When you respond, keep it light and positive, but brief. If she says, "Hey, how have you been?" respond with something like, "Been good, been busy. How about you?" Notice what you're not doing. Not explaining big rates ring. Not apologizing. Not asking follow-ups to re-engage heavily. You're matching her energy. She sent a casual check-in. You send a casual response. After that exchange, pull back again. Don't immediately schedule a date or launch into long conversation. Let her carry conversational weight. If she wants to keep talking, she'll continue. If not, you have more information. Second scenario. She doesn't reach out at all. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Nothing. You have 2 options. Reach out one final time with a clear, non-needy message like "Been thinking about you. Want to grab coffee this week?" Direct. Simple. If she responds positively, great. If she flakes or responds vaguely, you have your answer. Move on. Or let it fade completely. If she never cared enough to reach out after weeks, there's probably not enough there. Third scenario. She reaches out, you have good conversation, maybe make plans, but then she pulls back again. Short responses, longer delays, canceled plans. You need to decide if you're dealing with genuine interest being tested or someone who likes attention but doesn't want real connection. The diagnostic. If she keeps doing this push-pull pattern, reaching out when you pull back but disengaging when you re-engage, that's a red flag. She likes having your attention available but doesn't want to invest in something real. Walk away. Do it directly. "I like you, but it feels like we're not on the same page. I'm going to step back." Or stop engaging altogether. But if she's consistently responsive when you re-engage, making plans and following through, showing genuine interest through actions, not just words, you're in a good position. The silence worked. It recalibrated the dynamic. Now move forward from mutual interest rather than one-sided pursuit. Here's the principle. Silence isn't manipulation. It's a boundary. You're saying, "I won't chase someone not showing clear interest." That boundary is attractive because it signals self-respect, that you value your time, that you're not desperate for validation. Those are the exact qualities that make someone want to be around you. Whether she reaches out or not, you win. You maintain dignity. You didn't chase or beg. You gave space and let her decide if she wanted to close that gap. If she did, great. If not, you saved yourself months being someone's backup option. That's the framework. Now let me tell you something that'll challenge everything you've heard up to this point. Here's the truth that's going to sting. If stopping contact works, if she reaches back out, she was never as uninterested as you thought. You were just killing it with your approach. But if she never reaches out after weeks of silence, that's not a loss. That's clarity. And clarity is a win. You could have spent months trying to convince her to choose you while she kept you in the maybe zone. Instead, you found out in 2 weeks without begging or sacrificing dignity. Here's what's controversial. Most men would rather have the illusion of a chance than face reality. They'd rather keep texting into the void than accept she's not interested. Rejection hurts. But you know what hurts more? Wasting time on someone who sees you as a backup plan. If she doesn't reach out, you didn't lose. You won. You respected yourself enough to not chase someone not chasing you back. You're now free to find someone who doesn't need silence to realize your worth. The woman who makes you work this hard early on will probably be exhausting in a relationship. You want someone excited about you from the start, who doesn't need tests and games to recognize your worth. Those women exist, but you'll never find them if you're stuck chasing someone lukewarm. Use silence to find out if they already want you. And if they don't, move on faster. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. Don't spend it convincing people. Spend it with people who already see your value. So let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped contacting someone and had them reach back out? Or maybe you've been in the opposite situation where you pulled back and there was just silence. What happened? How did it feel? Did it give you the clarity you needed, or did it make things more confusing? I want to hear your experience because everyone's situation is a little different. And honestly, the more perspectives we can share here, the more we all learn about how this dynamic actually plays out in real life. Drop a comment below and tell me your story. I read every single comment, and I'll respond to as many as I can. Because this isn't just about dating advice. This is about understanding human psychology. Understanding what people actually value versus what they say they value. And that's something we're all trying to figure out. If you found this helpful, hit the like button. It helps more people find this kind of content. And if you want more insights into dating psychology, how attraction actually works, and how to avoid the most common mistakes men make, subscribe to the channel. We're building a community of guys who are done playing games, done chasing, and ready to approach relationships from a place of strength and self-respect. You're not here to manipulate anyone. You're here to understand how things work so you can make better decisions. And that's exactly the kind of mindset that makes you the kind of man women actually want to be with. Remember, the chase kills attraction. The pullback creates. Stay strong, stay grounded, and I'll see you in the next one.